So I started pondering this question: where does knowledge, like, how do humans gain knowledge? And um, so basically, I believe it comes down to three categories. And of course, there is a lot of sort of intermixture between them. But the three categories, I believe, are discovery, reasoning, and divine impartation. So, if you think of a fourth category that I somehow skipped over, let me know. But I think it all falls into these three buckets of how humans gain knowledge. So, now discovery is perhaps the most common one when you think about knowledge. So, um, you know, think of all the scientific innovations and all those things. Um, what happens when you take a magnifying glass and the sun shines through it and you're like, wow, it creates a really hot spot. Or um, Ben Franklin and lightning rods or whatever. The gravity, you know the whole list of, like, especially like Renaissance era stuff maybe you would think of, where people are discovering all these laws of nature, if you will. It's all about discovery. It's not about it's about coming up against or experiencing, taking in some kind of data in the natural world and so forth that gives us knowledge. And so it's discovery. It's discovering something. It's so basic, it's hard for me to really describe it beyond just using the word discovery. And then there's the element of reasoning. Now, reasoning and discovery often go together because often you use reasoning to create a hypothesis. The hypothesis you can then test, and the result of your test is then a discovery. But reasoning is kind of what happens when you take knowledge and put it together. So I'm like, okay, I know that gravity does such and such. And I know that, well, let's see, I'm not sure if that's a good illustration, but basically, I take known principles, I take known data points, and I'm like, from what I know, if I put these things together, or basically just applying logic to discoveries, right? So it's discoveries plus logic is reasoning. And, I guess that's basically it. And so reasoning is another way you can gain knowledge. And now, of course, the sort of the discovery element is usually necessary to prove it, if you will. So we have to, normally, there's some level of needing to experience it or verify it to be able to prove it. But so we've got discovery, we've got reasoning and logic, kind of interchangeable there, I guess. And then we have divine impartation. So you think about the things that God tells us in the Bible. I guess you could say spiritual impartation, because I guess it's also possible that the devil can also teach people things. So those things are not. He's not the one I want to be taught by, for sure. But it's like that's the other piece. Is like the things that God teaches you about how the world works, the nature of reality, the nature of Himself. Things that you would not have, if you will, discovered any other way except through divine impartation, or we could also say spiritual communication would be another way of doing it. So God can also drop things into you can get divine download, and it may feel like a discovery, but in reality it's a spiritual impartation. It's not a maybe something you observe in the natural world if you're going to separate them between the natural and the spiritual. Now, whether there's actually a divide between the natural and the spiritual is probably a topic for another video. But so those are my thoughts for today, that there's three ways to gain, for humans, on the broad strokes for humans to gain knowledge. It's discovery, it's logic and reasoning, and it is spiritual impartation. And then, of course, fortunately, we've developed ways of recording that information, so you and I do not have to go back to the basics and shoot apples off each other's heads with arrows and things like that. we can build upon what other people have discovered. So, of course, absorbing information from other people and records and all of that now is kind of our modern day experience of learning.